Hello and welcome to Meet Our Makers, an artist interview podcast produced in association with Beats Per Minute. I'm your host, Jeremy J. Facette. On this episode, we get to meet Regina Spektor. Regina Spektor is a singer, songwriter, pianist who I have been a fan of for quite a long time, almost as long as I've been listening to music, and I was very excited that she agreed to come on and chat for a while. Now, usually, as I say to her pretty early in the chat, I get to talk to people as they're sort of about to release something or have just released something, but in our case here, Regina's last album, Home Before and After, actually came out almost exactly a year prior to our talk. But that was kind of fun. It kind of gave us a different perspective and a different avenue into this conversation. So in this chat, she and I talk quite a bit about that record, the creation of it, the release of it, the extensive touring behind it, and also what it means to her now a year later. We talk about the joys and the gifts of playing music for people, her deep love for her fans, the sometimes uncomfortable but ultimately rewarding journey toward reissuing her debut album, the very good, very strange 1111, which included poring over lots of very old material and sort of reckoning with a past version of herself. We talk quite a bit too about how her fans have been instrumental in keeping some of her older songs alive, how her enormous number of songs has led to a couple being picked here and there to be re-recorded for a new album, and in this case, with Home Before and After, the big one is Loveology. So she and I talk quite a bit about that song, as well as an older song that I had never heard of that has almost sort of been lost to the years, but she's hoping can make a comeback. We talk about a lot more in between too. It was a really lovely, fluid conversation, and I hope you enjoy it. Before we start, I do want to remind you all that Meet Our Makers is now on Patreon, so you can go to patreon.com/meetourmakers and become a patron for a low monthly fee. Helps me out, helps me keep creating the show I love to do, and also will give you a little bit of fun extras down the line. You can also follow us on Instagram at Meet Our Makers Podcast and Twitter at @meetourmakers_. So, thank you for listening. This is me meeting Regina Spektor. Thank you so much for coming on and hanging out for a little bit.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks so much.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. It'll be fun. It's interesting though, too, because so far, I mean, I've been doing this show for almost 3 years, actually, maybe a little over 3 years now. And I usually get to talk to people sort of like right as they're on the precipice of releasing something. But it's kind of nice to like have someone on who's like not trying to like pitch anything. Like we're just going to hang out. We're going to chat.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. I think even when I'm putting things out, I never really think of it as that sort of on versus off, same as like when I'm making music or writing. It's just kind of things happen throughout my life. I'm like, okay, I'm going to speak to this person now, or oh, now I'm writing this song, or now I'm going to this event. But it's all just kind of like integrated, which I think is actually really nice because there's always something happening. I mean, in just a few days, I'm going to play this benefit at the Katzbahn Center and it's for ballet. And then I'm going to fly to London 2 weeks later and play my shows there. And there's always tours or records or songs, but it's all just, if you start to really delineate it, it kind of makes it strange. And if you just do one thing after another, it's just your life.
Yeah, right. And I mean, on the one hand too, it's like when an album is on the cusp of being released or has just been released, it's kind of a bit of a whirlwind, that moment. So I'm kind of happy then to get you in this sort of still moment in between touring and about a year, actually almost to the day from Home Before and After.
I know. I can't.
Which is kind of a wild thing that happened out of sheer chance.
I know it makes me realize I just don't understand time. And I always thought that someday I would, but I think I understand it less and less, actually.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, because yeah, I cannot believe that was a year ago. And you're right that like that moment when things are coming out does get so kind of frazzled, but I find that it is nicer to talk outside of those moments because um I have this funny way of I guess of having a dialogue that continues with journalists, but what happens is I get asked certain questions. I answer them as best as I can in the moment,
Hmm.
but then I feel like in the next interview, all those other questions are still in my head. And it's almost like the next interviewer gets the answers to the previous interviewer's
Yeah.
questions. Like I'm always on this delay. It would be really interesting to string it all together and or maybe I'll answer somebody as best as I can. And then I realize, you know what? I actually don't think that. I think the opposite of that. And so I correct it in the next interview. So I guess it's like a living, breathing art piece.
Mm. Yeah, in a way, it's like the performance aspect of being in this industry doesn't necessarily just stop, once the album's out. And some of it is sort of figuring out the machinations of that. So I'm very happy to have you here as part of that extended story. So thank you.
Thanks, Jeremy.
So yeah, so it's been I wrote my notes a few days ago for this, and I wrote that before Home Before and After had come out almost a year ago to the day. I think we've actually passed that by a day or two now.
Have we
Um,
see if I was a really good modern person, I would have, had an entire uh post about that or
right.
something, whatever people do.
Oh wait, no, I'm wrong. I have it further down in my notes. June 24th. That'll be the year.
Oh, okay.
So
So
you
I
didn't
still
miss
have
it.
time. I did miss it. So thank you for this. So actually, how about I don't have a record coming out, but we're talking to celebrate the year anniversary
Yes,
of my
happy one
record.
year.
We have we
Right.
have the perfect setting now.
Yeah, we're having a little birthday party.
Yeah.
So, with it being a year, and I know that no one, least of all us, understands time any more than we used to, or maybe less now, as we said. How are you feeling about Home Before and After? I usually get to ask that when they're like, "Oh, I've been sitting on it for 6 months and no one's heard it yet." But now we've all heard it, and you've been touring pretty extensively. So how are you feeling about it 1 year on?
Well, I mean, it's to be completely honest, most people, I think I'm probably fall deeply into the majority. We work so hard to make the record and we listen to it so much, and every breath, every single thing has been sort of thought about and run over and smoothed by your mind and by, work, that you never really listen to it again. I mean,
Hmm.
I haven't actually listened to it, but what I have been living with is playing the songs live, right?
Yeah.
And this year I have been doing the songs solo. And
Mm.
and I made the record in a very solo. I mean, in a lot of ways, it's been very much a continuation of because I recorded it at the height of COVID while pregnant. And so I
Mm.
was very away from people. I never even stepped foot into a control room. It was the most opposite way I have ever made a record. And John Congleton and I would have these sessions that were, hours long, where we would listen simultaneously and do the very, very kind of brutal work of like at 2 minutes and 30 seconds and, you know, 5
Hmm.
milliseconds, that breath that, should come down like 1 dB, it's just, things like that, which is like the craziest way to kind of think about art and go back and forth. And in another way, it was so freeing and it was so exciting to work in this very like some things about it were super, super crazy, and other things were incredibly natural and fun. And then, but my experience of the songs and then recording them was alone, and then touring them has been alone. And it has been kind of amazing because, first of all, I'm just constantly amazed by the people that come to my shows. Like my audience they just, I don't know if they know this, but like I would like for them to know this, but they really give me so much that I can't even believe it. Like I'm always wondering, am I giving them as much as they're giving me?
Yeah.
It's such a beautiful relationship, and their vibe and the feeling that I get playing those songs. I think that the most you can ever hope for in this world, as far as, making art, is that you feel like you're useful. Maybe even just as a person,
Yeah.
if you feel like you're useful to someone, and I know that I'm useful in my life. Like I feel like I am useful to the people that I love and who love me, and I'm useful to my family, and I feel very useful to my friends. And you want to be used. You don't want to just rot away.
Yeah.
And I feel like they just make the songs feel so useful to them. Like when I play it and they're catching it in this loving way, and they're happy when a song starts. And I guess one of the sort of beautiful experiences with this record has been that when I start playing a song from this record, the kind of excitement and the gladness and the sort of applause that come at the recognition at the beginning of, oh yeah, that song, is it just sits as comfortably and as happily with the recognition of a lot of their already very familiar older songs. And then also some of these songs, they helped me reconnect with because they kept them alive for me, like there was
Yeah, we will be talking about that.
that was, just that alone, how
Yeah.
beautiful, because I don't, first of all, I would have never remembered them or about them. And then to have them kind of carry the music for, a good, I don't know how many years, I'm bad at math, but because we, time, but a good 18 years, probably some of it, I don't know, where they
Yeah.
really kept the song, on life support till it could like wake up, it was
Yeah.
very beautiful.
Yeah, and that's kind of one of the lovely things too, because I mean we'll get into that topic in a bit, because I am curious about all that. I've been listening to your work for quite a while as well, and there are some of those older songs that we, the fans, or whoever it is, maybe it's not me personally, but the fans do keep alive through fastidious archiving and survival, and somehow it's like they've found you again, and now you get to play them for people who've been like longing to hear them in this setting. So that must be sort of a very strange, beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's incredible because it actually becomes, you know, it's like a collective, I don't know, it's like a collective effort.
Yeah, no, yeah, for sure.
That's really, I mean, um, I, I'm always amazed by people who can keep a tremendous amount of things at their fingertips, people who know all of their songs, and somebody can yell out a request and they could just play a song, or really anybody's. I mean, I have friends who can play anything. Brad Whiteley, who played with me on many tours in my band. I mean, he just has all of this music and that he can just play, and it could be classical and it could be jazz and it could be pop. He just knows it all, and he could just recall it. I cannot relate to that at all. And one of the things that my mind does, and I don't know if it's just kind of how I have to live in order to write new music, but it completely empties itself of old songs. And sometimes people don't understand, like they just won't believe me that, oh, like you can't just play this song you've played literally thousands of times today, and I will fall off a cliff. I won't know the next line. I won't know the next chord. I have to sort of, before every tour, put it all back into my body, and I sit there like getting, going on YouTube and
It's like
finding things,
studying.
and I study and I pause and I
Yeah.
go, oh yeah, that's what I say next. Or and sometimes I even think of it as she, like I'll go, what does she say next? It's so strange. Like our minds are just all so unique, which is the beauty of this world. I mean, how good is it that we're all so different? But that's one of the things that I realize, is that I really need that external archive. Like if tomorrow the internet was down forever and all of my records were gone, and I don't know how much I would probably write a lot of new things, but I don't know how much I would actually retain.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of interesting because you'd be like at a show and someone would shout out a relatively sort of common popular song of yours. You'd be like, sorry, I don't
Yeah, I didn't
I don't
practice that
remember.
one. And they would just think, I really do hope people believe me. I'm truly telling them
Yeah.
the truth, that they don't want to hear it, because it'll just be mistakes.
Mm. So if I see you and I just shout out like buildings, you'll be like, no.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Especially, that's a
I'm
really deep
mostly
cut.
joking.
That's a really deep, deep cut. I'd really have to practice that one.
Yeah. So, okay, so you've been touring the album a lot, mostly alone. You recorded it mostly alone, if not entirely, really, your parts alone. But I am curious about what went into the record for you. So, Home Before and After, it it feels like, I mean, it was a few years on from Remember Us to Life, and so it doesn't have that whole like, well, we just heard an album from you, like continuation thing. It is sort of like its own ecosystem. So I am curious what went into it for you, especially if you were writing and recording it alone. Like, what were some of the general themes or motivations that you wanted to try and communicate this time around?
You know, I think everything you said, it's almost like not how I ever think of any records. Even
That's
even though
fair.
it's like a very noble, beautiful way. I just don't think I don't think I don't think I've ever thought of any record like
Mm,
in the big picture sort of thing. I don't have um agenda in that way. I really do feel like you know, I write songs and they all come from these different moments or different um kind of like they sprout out from different ideas, and sometimes it's like something that I will have maybe seen or read or overheard, and sometimes it's 50 different things spanning my entire life
right.
that have collected into some kind of a something that becomes a song. I'm always surprised by it. And I really when I start out to make a record, I never know what's going to be on it.
Hmm.
And then it kind of just whatever, it's like very, very instinctive. It's almost like the way that you hear like cats who go out into the wild, they will just like they'll eat a little bit of this flower and then they'll find this grass. It's very like it kind of has its own way of finding itself. And I'll just sort of try, and either somehow a song has snuck back into my consciousness before I start, and like an old song that I haven't had a relationship with for a while, but it has been sort of knocking at my door maybe for a year or 2 years, and that
Hmm.
one gets to go in. Um, Usually the newest thing also gets to go in.
Yeah.
The very, very, and then as far as the in between, it's like, I just sort of have faith. I don't think of it as a record as a whole. I think of it
Mm-hmm.
what's right for this song. And then I just sort of do whatever I can for the songs. And then when I have the collection of songs, I sort of have this faith, and they usually tend to find this order, this sequence among themselves where they really all of a sudden it feels like a record. And there's
Mm-hmm.
this moment and it feels like, oh, and usually I come up with like the title of it like 7 years earlier, and it's just in my head and I have no idea what songs are going on it or what it sounds like or anything, but the title just kind of sits there like this sneaky little basket that's like waiting for things to go into it, or maybe like a huge whale that's got its mouth open and it's just sucking things in. I don't know, but it's really, it's all very instinctive and not very thought out at
Mm-hmm.
all. And I'm never like, oh, this is sort of my concept or my thesis or my plan, or I sort of I hear people talk about that and I'm always amazed at that, the same way that you marvel at somebody who, you know, is just so different from you and you're like amazed. Wow, like really, you know,
Yeah.
like somebody who like stays up all night and is just like their best work is done at 2 a.m. I'm always like, really? Because my body, you know, my body's ideal bedtime is like 9 p.m. and I have
Oh,
been
same.
overriding it my whole life, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, you're just like, wow. But yeah, I think that, so in that way, I never put out a record that doesn't feel like, oh my God, this, I'm so excited about this. This is a real record. You know, I made a real record. It's complete. I'm so happy. It like, it came alive. You know, it just, it's like, it's almost like the Pinocchio thing where it's like the record really only comes alive like just a few seconds before everybody hears it. It just
Yeah.
kind of magically like, you know, wakes up. And I always have faith that it will. But other than that, it's just like a pile of pieces of like, oh, here's a wooden shoe and here's a wooden nose. And it's just laying in the corner. Like, it's going to be something.
That makes sense though. And it's a it's a very astute metaphor for that kind of thing, I suppose. Um, so then if you don't have sort of overriding concepts going into a record, I would like to pick apart for a minute just one song then. Um, the Spaceland Fairy Tale song, which is, I believe, your longest song, I think.
Oh, yes.
Um,
Yes. Space Time Fairy Tale is,
Space Time Fairy Tale,
yeah,
yes,
yeah, yeah.
sorry.
No, no worries. It's, I think it's, is it over 9 minutes? I've
It's
definitely,
around there, yeah.
yeah, it is my longest song I've ever written. And I, well, I actually, do you know Pioneer Works?
It sounds familiar.
Yeah, so it's this incredible space in Red Hook, Brooklyn. And actually I just went to their big fete, their gala, but
Hmm.
they're raising money right now for, they want to make the first public observatory
Oh.
of space and stars. But it's this incredible sort of artist space um, in Red Hook, Brooklyn,
Hmm.
and and like they have this dream of connecting, you know, taking artists and musicians and then scientists and engineers and tech people and kind of taking them all out of their bubbles and kind of bringing them together uh, to help create sort of that connection between philosophy and poetry and science and, you know, and space study, which really happens a lot because when you read science books or books about time, it's almost like when the scientists run out of things that they can describe, they just go to all the poets. And every time the poets and the musicians run out of things, they just go to the sciences. So we all just keep, you know. switching places.
Yeah.
But they were doing this thing that they do, which is called Universe in Verse, and it was um, they were reading poetry written by scientists, and I was invited to be a part of it. And just through talking about these things, I started writing that song, and I had this idea that I was gonna write a song about, space time and all that, and I was gonna play it at the show where it made sense because that was the topic. And
Yeah.
usually, in my imagination, there are two categories of music, right? There's like the music that just kind of comes. And most of my music is just that. It just sort of bubbles up from God knows where and appears. And I'm just very happy to have it. And then there's also what I call homework music. And that's when, and I really love that too, because it's always something that wouldn't exist without the assignment. And yet I love these songs very, very much. So like something for when I did You've Got Time for Orange is the New Black, that was homework music. But but the thing about it, or like doing The Call for Narnia, that's homework music. It's like when somebody shows you their art and you get this homework and you can either do it or you can't.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the songs that I love very much, they come from this homework place. And so I was like, oh, I'm going to do a homework music assignment and I'm going to make a science song. And of course, the song started to become bigger and longer and more complicated. And it was definitely not done anywhere near when they needed it. I couldn't even play it once without making mistakes. So I played other songs. But that kind of idea sort of started the thread of it. But then everything, it's kind of, you can have an agenda, and if you follow it closely, then instead of art, you've made propaganda, you've made a song about a thing that you want to make a song about, but if you want to try and make something really real, whatever that means, then you can have a jump off point of something, but then it has to start taking over and it does whatever it wants. And you're kind of there to just be along for the ride. And so that song got really big and really long. And then when I was doing the residency on Broadway, I was just so interested in doing things that felt like an homage to the things that I love about Broadway, that I invited my friend Caleb Teicher. And they're an amazing tap dancer. So all of a sudden, these instrumental parts grew longer and longer, and Caleb was doing tap. And so then by the time I was recording the record, even though it was not on stage anymore and you didn't have the visuals of any of that, you didn't have the sort of spectacle of it, the tap had to be there. It was just how I heard the song. So then the song really is this kind of, it really spans all kinds of interesting places and still has tap in it. I don't know if that answers your question, Jeremy, but
I mean, I don't know that I had much of a question.
You were just like,
I just wanted to know more.
You're like, space time, go.
Yeah, let's talk about it. No, I wanted to know more because it is, I'm always curious about those kinds of things where the song is so much longer than the artist's usual fare. And it felt like there was more to it than it just simply being a long song. So yeah, I mean, you answered my curiosities, we could say.
Good.
Is Caleb the one who tap danced with you on Colbert for the Prisoners?
Yes.
Version? Because I remember watching that.
Yeah, no, Caleb and I have been doing these kind of collaborations now for a few years, ever since Ben Folds invited both of us on the same night to participate in his Declassified series where it was at the Kennedy Center with the National Symphony Orchestra. And it was very, very dreamy for me. I mean, I love all things classical and orchestra. And,
Mm-hmm.
you say the words classical and orchestra and I'm there. Unless, and so Caleb was doing this piece that was for tap and orchestra. And it was a premiere of a piece. And, just when I met them, I was like, and uh, we just had an instant kind of, I love what you do. And,
Mm-hmm.
I love what you do. Let's do something, and, we've sort of been trying to sneak around and figure out how to be, make art together ever since.
So lovely, though.
Yeah, it really is. It really is.
And it reminds me watching, thinking back to watching you two on the show, it reminded me a little bit of sort of the almost vaudevillian aspect of your early shows,
Yes.
like that pared down, whatever makes a sound, let's do it, that kind of thing.
Yes, you know what? I haven't really thought of that, but it just makes so much sense. And even, I don't know, like I have this huge love affair with this kind of um like jazz standards and all this music that I basically discovered when I was in college. And I really sort of understood how much that music influenced me when I went back and did the 20-year 11/11 anniversary box set, because I went back and listened to these shows that I didn't know had existed that my dad had recorded. And I was like, wow, all I really was like loving was like jazz and blues. And I was just drunk on it.
Mm-hmm.
And and of course, you know, the musicals that I love the most are all those like um early American musicals. And so much of that has tap and these fun, imaginative sound effects where, if you watch a Fred Astaire movie or something, or Gene Kelly, they have used all parts of the animal. They have hit or stepped or thrown or,
Mm.
on every single thing. They're so imaginative with how they bring out sounds and what they engage with. um yeah, it's just really, I find it very kindred.
Yeah, seriously, it is. Um, so you mentioned the 11/11 box set. We'll get there momentarily, but I am curious to ask, we mentioned your old songs, and with this record specifically, I think the two big, oldies here are Raindrops and Loveology. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I remember I was lucky enough and happy enough that you came to New Haven for your solo tour, your very brief
Mm.
solo run before this record came out, and you played Loveology and it was lovely. And um I just remember those like first notes coming out and like you could hear sort of the collective like the gasping moment.
I
Um
know that.
and that must feel so specific and special, and because
Mhm.
especially songs like that are so old for you, but that also means they're old for a lot of us, and we've been holding
Yeah.
on to them. So I am wondering how you landed on these two. Like, what was it about these two that you thought it was time to drag them back out of the closet?
Well, that feeling, by the way, is so beautiful for me. And
Mm,
it just, it's like, it's so, what's the word? I guess it's like so welcoming, you
mm,
know, and so warm. It's like when you hear that little gasp, and it's like, it just makes you feel like so, I don't know, like invited,
right, right.
um back to that word useful. You're like, oh my god, I'm gonna be so fucking useful right now.
You're like, this is it. It's happening.
It's happening, I'm being used. um
Oh,
and it's very, very lovely. but
mm,
um but what was interesting is like, so I have to thank Jack, because people would, I try really hard to sort of, I'm not as good as many other people, but I try to be as in touch and with my audience as I can through different ways. And one of the things that I try to do is like when I do go out on a tour, I do try to sort of find out, well, is there overwhelmingly like a certain kind of song that feels right to people right now, or that they would want to hear, or something that they've missed that maybe I haven't been playing. And so I kind of put out the word. And what's interesting is that forever, like for years, every once in a while, somebody would call it out at a show. I'd be like, really? What? or like people would write it down as like a song they'd want to hear. And it would just keep coming up as like, and the requests. And I was always like, oh, I don't even know how to play that. Why would they want that? It's like so old. And one day, I think it was before I did, this run of solo shows in 2018, where I hadn't done solo shows since, I don't know, 2004 or 5 or something like that.
Right.
And then, and it wasn't in my mind to do them. And then it was again, Jack, who was like, well, there's a lot of these songs that people are asking for. They're all like kind of, they're solo songs. Like maybe you could just play, see what it feels like to play a show. And I was like, I don't know. Like, it's so fun to play with musicians. And it is, but I just got curious. I was like, can I even do that? Will that even feel good? Like, and then it felt amazing because it was just its own thing. It was like something completely different. It's almost like doing 2 different jobs, and you're like, oh, wow, I thought I only knew how to do one job, but I actually knew how to do 2, and it was just such different songs that would never get real estate because I just wouldn't play them. It would be like a waste of having the band there, and I would just choose absolutely different songs based on who was there and the colors that I had to play with. But all of a sudden, when it was just me, it was like, oh, well, now I have more real estate for this. So yeah, I could play these 5 songs that I never, ever, ever play. And that's actually really fun. And he said one day, he was like, what is this Loveology song that everybody keeps asking for? And then he just went
had
and
he not heard it?
No, he just, because I never played it,
Right.
we had, in all the time that we were together. And then he went online and listened to, like, I guess, an old recording.
Oh, there's so many old recordings.
Yeah, and he was like, you have to learn this song and play it on the solo show. And he told me, what other song? Oh, he told me to like play Love Affair again. Like I there was a bunch of songs that I was like figured out just because he was like, why don't you just do this? And it's gonna make people have like fun. Like they want to hear this, just because sometimes I get kind of like, oh, I don't know how to do it, and I get kind of intimidated. and honestly, I can't tell if it's like some kind of an underlying emotional thing or just plain laziness. I don't know. Like it's just like feels daunting, And I'm like, I'd rather write a new song, than spend hours figuring out how to do this old song. But then when I did, all of a sudden, it was the strangest thing where it felt so, I don't know, like I hesitate to use this word because it's going to sound really fucking pretentious, but it just felt like kind of healing to play it. And I was like, oh my God, like this feels really good to play. It just felt like almost, because sometimes this thing happens where you start to play a song and it just feels so wrong in the body. Like everything, like the words won't come out of my mouth. Like the nothing about it feels right. And that's when I know, like, oh, I'm not going to play the song for like years. It just, or it doesn't feel right now for sure. And then other times you start to play something that you haven't played in years. And all of a sudden it's just like, it's like finding that exact vitamin that you needed And it's like, because that's the interesting thing about these songs is like, and I don't know if people realize this, but like they kind of help me get through life too. Like
Yeah.
they, like I kind of like sometimes I need them, some of them like in a really big way. Like, so it felt so good and so right. Then I added it. I played it a little bit on solo stuff. Then I played it as part of Broadway, and I put, there was this beautiful string arrangement on
Mm-hmm.
it. That the violist that I play with, Beth Myers, made. That was so lovely. And we just worked on it. And I remember we did it. Yeah, I think we did it on Seth Meyers. Yeah, as part of like
Yeah.
before Broadway came. And it was this funny thing where it was like such an old song, but it just felt so new. And it almost felt like it had lived on a record forever, except that it hadn't.
Yeah.
And then I think because it had become this part of my life again, thanks to people who, recorded it and bootlegged all those years ago and generously shared it online so that even I could have access to it and relearn it. And
Yeah.
then I was like, you know what? I want to do that for them. Like, I want to, if I'm able to, like, if I'm able to do a version that feels right, I want to put it on a record. And
Yeah.
because I was able to do that, I was able to do it. But I have that with some other songs where I will really want the song to exist, in a in some kind of an official state. And for whatever reason, I cannot seem to get it just so, and I always have to let it go, and it does not live on a record.
Yeah.
And I
What's
try
like
from
one
record
that's
to record.
what's like one that sticks out for you?
Oh, well, I have this song, and I actually it has had the strangest path. I wrote it. I have this song. You probably haven't heard of it because it's kind of, I played it so few times in, but it's called Ink Stains.
Yeah, I don't think I do. And I don't think I know that one.
Yeah, it's this song that I wrote. Um, I think I was probably, I don't know, I probably was 23 at the most. Maybe I was even younger.
Hmm.
And it 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 kind of, usually I have no idea where my songs come from, but this one I knew exactly where it came from. And it was so filled. It came from a so I turned on NPR in my little apartment in Soho that was like the size of a shoebox. And in passing, this very warm, um, I don't remember now who the host was of what show it was, but they just said something, 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 a well-known Holocaust denier.
Hmm.
And I had never heard of the concept
Right.
before. I was just like, like I was so shocked by the idea. And then,
Yeah.
of course, I listened to these like, disgusting ideas that this person was putting forward. But it was
Hmm.
just like unbelievable to me. It was so shocking. I just,
Yeah.
because I knew so many Holocaust um, survivors. I also knew so many people in my family who did not survive. I was surrounded by a community that
Yeah.
was, everybody had somebody. And I spent my childhood in the Bronx, in going to my yeshiva. Once we immigrated, we would have Holocaust survivors speak at our school all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just such a big part of my life that I sort of, because I'd grown up in this bubble, I sort of just didn't even know into my 20s that this was a thing, that denying that it existed was a thing.
Yeah.
And And I was so hurt, and then I was so angry. And I went and to my little keyboard that I had, and I just wrote the song, and the song is called Ink Stains. And I really, really wanted to put it on a record ever since then.
Mm.
I remember playing it like I think I just couldn't play it for the first couple of years because it was just too raw, and I just
Yeah.
didn't want to play it for anybody. And then I remember playing it for David when we were recording Begin to Hope. And it just, I couldn't get it right. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
and he really loved what we had, but to me, it was just like completely wrong. Like everything about the delivery was wrong because I had this mysterious vision of it, mysterious to me. And I didn't know what it was, but I'd know it when I had it, and
Right.
that's sort of what it was always been like with every song, where it's like, fuck, I really want this song on a record, but I didn't get it. No matter how many times I tried, I just didn't get it.
Yeah.
And um and then it would just kind of live with me. And every time, including this last record, I sort of would like prepare it, I would relearn it, I would kind of get it back into my body. And I just could not figure out how to do it. And also, even when I would sort of imagine that, let's say I got it just so, where on the record could I put it? It's like you can't end on it, you can't start on it, and you can't put it in the middle. Nothing can come before it and nothing can come after it. It's just like it's like an impossibility, like it's such a difficult song to find a place for. And so I kind of struggled with it. And then a few years ago, Jack, my husband, and our friend Daniel, who has been collaborating with us, Daniel Ryan, he's a director, a wonderful director, film and music videos and things like that. And we started making this film about my piano teacher's husband, Samuel Martyr, who's a Holocaust survivor. And we didn't even, it wasn't even like a knowing thing where we started to officially make a film. We just wanted to capture some interviews with him because he does this work where he goes into schools and talks about the dangers of prejudice. And even though he was this really wonderful and renowned violinist in his life, and he's a child Holocaust survivor, but he has told me that this is the most important work that he has ever done in his life, talking to kids about prejudice and the dangers of it. And so we just tried in our own we don't know what we're doing way, start to capture it. And then I remembered about this song, and I just really wanted to play it for him. So we actually, it's all these years, the song has been unable to exist anywhere, but it's going to find its home in this movie. So it's interesting what paths sometimes these songs take. I mean, I hope we do a good job and are able to complete the movie, because it's making films is such hard work, so much more involved, and so much more expensive and so much more complicated than anything I've ever encountered in music. But because it's a labor of love, I'm just so passionate about it. And it's so important right now,
Yeah.
But basically that's like an example of a song that just could never find a home. But I have many, many other songs for many other reasons, much less heavy than this. Is probably the most complicated one I've ever tried to reckon with. But I have just so many other songs that I'm always like, well, what are you going to surprise me with? Where are you going to find a home?
Yeah.
Sometimes they think like, well, if they exist, they're just going to be alive in some way. And some of them might just be alive on the internet, in this
Yeah.
kind of um, kind, very, recorded at the back of the bar way.
Yeah, and I mean that's okay in its own way. I mean
Yes.
that's how songs like Loveology lived. I mean, I don't know how aware you were of reginaspektor.net. Um,
Oh, I was very aware because I would go and look if I needed to
right?
make a set list or if I wanted to know what the hell I wrote. I would
Yeah.
go and I was amazed at that.
Oh my gosh.
And
It's a trove.
I just
It's still live, by the way.
that, and that makes me so happy. And I have no idea who made it, but like,
Yeah.
I'm so grateful
That's
because
where I first heard it.
it's just, yeah, I would go, and when I was looking for those kind of like, what song can I sneak in that would make people like who are in that club, who care about
Mm-hmm.
the deep cuts and who
Mm-hmm.
are like, because I always, I in my own way would try to kind of make something special for those people because they're like the heart of the whole thing. They're
Yeah.
sort of like so deep in it and so care so much that they they have a whole other place
Yeah.
in that world. And I would always try to find like a sneaky song, go, this would make them happy, this would make them happy, and so that's where I would go searching, would be like,
Yeah.
because I would be like, what the hell have I written? I should probably just sit down and make a list from that in a notebook or something, just because I don't even have an extensive list. But I had that when I know you said you were going to bring up the box set thing later, but it just I
No, we yeah, which we will now, yeah.
yeah, but it's like when I was trying to just, be like, well, it's been 20 years of 11/11 and it was, you know, I made it in college. I was 20, I there was no, people didn't walk around with phones. There was nothing, nobody recording that. I was like, how do I make a special thing if I don't have any photos from that era of myself or any footage of myself? And then all of a sudden my dad was like, I came and I recorded all your shows on a
Oh,
camcorder. I was like,
yeah.
of course, my dad. Of course he did. And but when I listened to those songs, when I tell you that I had no recollection of the song until the moment that it was starting,
On the
and
main album?
then of no, of all the on the Papa's
Oh,
bootlegs,
okay, okay.
you know, it was like song after song after song of where it was like I would have never ever even had an inkling of what it was. But then as soon as it would start, I would just remember that it exists,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't remember anything else about it. I wouldn't remember the name. I mean, I was just making up names for these songs based on, because I had no idea what their original names were. There
Hmm.
was only a few that I was like, oh yeah, that one.
Yeah.
But it was just so crazy to realize that you can write and then forget that much stuff. And so it really makes me now be like, whatever I think I'm going to remember, just know that I won't. So,
Yeah.
write it down or record it or something. And there were so many songs from that time that I didn't, record, on a cassette, which is probably how I practiced these in the first place.
Hmm.
And I just forgot them. I would write them and forget them. And
Yeah.
and but maybe that's okay, it's like art compost or something. They're just like going back into the soil.
Right. It's like a weird art cycle, I
Yeah,
guess.
exactly, exactly. Right, I forget.
Um, quick story aside, when the way and it ties into 11/11 kind of, but the way I first discovered your music, I think Soviet Kitsch had just come out, but the Us music video hadn't like hit the MTV, the VH1 rotations yet.
Mm-hmm.
But my older sister was at a show of yours, I guess probably in Connecticut, maybe New York, where you opened for the Dresden Dolls. And
Yeah.
that was back in the days where they had like their troupe of like performers that would come
Yes.
with them.
Yes.
And
Mm-hmm.
she came to one dressed as a giant caterpillar.
Oh.
And and she brought home a songs CD, like a legitimate one that you were selling at the show.
Wow.
And I was like, what in the living hell is this? Because I was like 12. I was like, what is this? And I
Oh,
was
that
like
is, and then it's like, of
6.
course, and those songs, yeah, yeah. If they hit you at 12,
Oh
that's
yeah.
pretty out there.
Yeah, those
Um,
especially songs. But then because of
yeah.
songs and then Soviet Kitsch kind of entering my life at that time. And then I found 1111. I don't know if it was reginaspektor.net or some weird bootleg, but I found 1111. And so that was kind of what made me go, wow, like there's a lot to dig into here. So I was very, very happy, and I'm sure a lot of us were, that the box set was coming out because I know people have been bugging you online probably and in
Yes,
person
well,
for
that's another
many
thing. I
years, right?
know. I know.
Like, when
And
are we getting it official?
I know. And it was like, it's so, yeah, it really, I mean, and that was like this wonderful slash torturous thing
Yeah.
because I felt so like I had so grown out of that. And yet
Hmm.
I wanted so much to establish, what I really felt like at the time. So I had this fear of like, when something's out there, it's like, you heard, let's say, Songs record.
Hmm.
But, you know, if Songs record and Soviet Kitsch and Begin to Hope have the same real estate, and you have no idea of what I am now. Like it was as the musician, it just really was bugging me because I felt like, oh, I was so embarrassed of 1111 at that
Yeah.
time, and
Yeah,
it kind of
you
took
write that in
me,
the
yeah,
notes.
it did. And it was like this whole, well, exactly, like this whole process, this healing process where I forgave her and thanked her. I was like, you gave me my fucking life.
Yeah. It must have
um,
been very, very weird to go back through that era.
It was so weird. It was so weird, and it was also so wonderful,
Hmm.
because it's like you only get some of this stuff with perspective. And I don't know, I feel like, I have so many friends who they they left so young,
Hmm.
that to get any kind of time for any kind of perspective in this place is just a privilege, and and so it was just this beautiful circle that I got to actually see through.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right. Well, I'm seeing a note that we are just about out of time. That's
Oh.
okay. It's fine. I had such a good time.
Oh, thanks,
We
Jeremy.
only got through about half my notes, which is actually great because it means that we talked about a lot of things I wasn't anticipating, which I love.
Oh,
So
great.
thank you very much, Regina. I really was very humbled and appreciative that you agreed to chat for an hour.
Oh,
Um, I had a very, very, very good time talking to you.
thank you. Thanks so much. And how amazing. I had when we began this conversation, I had no idea that you went back so far with it. And it just makes me happy. I just didn't know. So
Yeah.
that's really special for me. Thank you. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.